Chapter 6. The Race. Now there began a desperate race, the machines against the foxes. In the beginning, the hill looked like this. After about an hour, as the machines bit away more and more soil from the hilltop, it looked like this. Sometimes the foxes would gain a little ground and the clanking noises would grow fainter, and Mr. Fox would say, "We're going to make it! I'm sure we are!" But then, a few moments later, the machines would come back at them and crunch. The mighty shovels would get louder and louder. Once the foxes actually saw the sharp metal edge of one of the shovels as it scraped the earth just behind them. "Keep going, my darlings," panted Mr. Fox. "Don't give up." "Keep going," the fat boggess shouted to Bunce and Bean. "We'll get him any moment now." "Have you caught sight of him yet?" Bean called out. "Not yet," shouted Boggess, "but I think you're close." "I'll pick him up with my bucket," shouted Bunce. "I'll chop him in pieces." But by lunchtime the machines were still at it, and so were the poor foxes. The hill now looked like this. The farmers didn't stop for lunch. They were too keen to finish the job. "Hey there, Mr. Fox," yelled Bunce, leaning out of his tractor. "We're coming to get you now." "You've had your last chicken," yelled Boggess. "You'll never come prowling around my farm again." A sort of madness had taken hold of the three men. The tall, skinny Bean and the dwarfish, pot-bellied Bunce were driving their machines like maniacs, racing the motors and making the shovels dig at a terrific speed. The fat Boggess was hopping about like a dervish and shouting, "Faster! Faster!" By 5 o'clock in the afternoon, this is what had happened to the hill. The hole the machines had dug was like a crater of a volcano. It was such an extraordinary sight that crowds of people came rushing around from the surrounding villages to have a look. They stood on the edge of the crater and stared down at Boggess and Bunce and Bean. "Hey there, Boggess! What's going on?" "We're after a fox." "You must be mad." The people jeered and laughed, but this only made the three farmers more furious and more obstinate and more determined than ever not to give up until they'd caught the fox. Chapter 7. We'll Never Let Him Go. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Bean switched off his motor of the tractor and climbed down from the driver's seat. Bunce did the same. Both men had had enough. They were tired and stiff from driving the tractors all day. They were also hungry. Slowly they walked over to the small fox's hole in the bottom of the huge crater. Bean's face was purple with rage. Bunce was cursing the fox with dirty words that cannot be printed. Boggess came waddling up. "Dang and blast that filthy, stinking fox," he said. "What the heck do we do now?" "I'll tell you what we don't do," Bean said. "We don't let him go." "We'll never let him go," Bunce declared. "Never, never, never," cried Boggess. "Did you hear that, Mr. Fox?" yelled Bean, bending low and shouting down the hole. "It's not over yet, Mr. Fox. We're not going home till we've strung you up as dead as a dingbat." Whereupon the three men all shook hands with one another and swore a solemn oath they would not go back to their farms until the fox was caught. "What's the next move?" asked Bunce, the pot-bellied dwarf. "We're sending you down the hole to fetch him up," said Bean. "Down you go, you miserable midget." "Not me!" screamed Bunce, running away. Bean made a sickly smile. When he smiled, you saw his scarlet gums. You saw more gums than teeth. Then there's only one thing to do. We starve him out. We camp here all day and all night, watching the hole. He'll come out in the end. He'll have to. So Boggis and Bunce and Bean sent messages down to the farms asking for tents, sleeping bags and supper. Chapter 8. The Foxes Begin to Starve. That evening, 3 tents were put up in the crater on the hill. One for Boggis, one for Bunce, and one for Bean. The tents surrounded Mr. Fox's hole, and the 3 farmers sat out the tents eating their supper. Boggis had 3 boiled chickens smothered in dumplings. Bunce had 6 doughnuts filled with disgusting goose liver paste. And Bean had 2 gallons of cider. All 3 of them kept their guns beside them. Boggis picked up a steaming chicken and held it close to the fox's hole. "Can you smell this, Mr. Fox?" he shouted. "Lovely tender chicken. Why don't you come and get it?" The scent of rich chicken wafted down the tunnel to where the foxes were crouching. "Oh, Dad," said one of the small foxes, "couldn't we just sneak up and snatch it out of his hand?" "Don't you dare," said Mrs. Fox. "That's what they want you to do." "But we're so hungry," they cried. "How long will it be till we get something to eat?" Their mother didn't answer them, nor did their father. There was no answer to give. As darkness fell, Bunce and Bean switched on their powerful headlamps of the 2 tractors and shone them on the hole. "Now," said Bean, "we'll take it in turns to keep watch. One watches while 2 sleep, and so on all through the night." Boggis said, "What if the foxer digs a hole right through the hill and comes out the other side? You didn't think of that, did ya?" "Of course I did," said Bean, pretending he had. "Go on then, tell us an answer," said Boggis. Bean picked up something small and black out of his ear and flicked it away. "How many men have you got working on your farm?" he asked. 35, Boggis said. "I've got 36, Bunce said. "And I've got 37, Bean said. "That makes 108 men altogether. We must order them to surround the hill. Each man will have a gun and a flashlight. There will be no escape then for Mr. Fox." So the order went down to the farms, and that night 108 men formed a tight ring around the bottom of the hill. They were armed with sticks and guns and hatchets and pistols and all sorts of horrible weapons. This made it quite impossible for a fox, or indeed any other animal, to escape the hill. The next day, the watching and the waiting went on. Boggis and Bunce and Bean sat up upon small stools, staring at the fox's hole. They didn't talk much. They just sat there with their guns on their laps. Every so often, Mr. Fox would creep a little closer towards the mouth of the tunnel and take a sniff. Then he would creep back again and say, "They're still here." "Are you quite sure?" Mrs. Fox would ask. "Positive," said Mr. Fox. "I can smell that Bean a mile away. He stinks."